Hello, I'm here to show you how to build a cattle panel or a horse panel style fence. I've had a bunch of people text me as I'm building mine, trying to figure out the steps to do it, and I'm kind of tired of texting people, so I thought I'd just make a video so you can watch it on your phone or computer, depending how old you are. This is the one that I'm building. It's a horse panel style fence. It is for my garden. Horse panel I decided to use because it has a 2-inch by 4-inch gap, which is going to keep critters out next season when I go to, grow all my shit. So we're gonna get into it pretty quick. I know you're here to watch me build a fence and not talk, so let's do it. All right, so I have 3 sections left to complete on this fence, along with the gate. Excuse me. We got this section here, this section of fence, this section of fence, and then I'm gonna do a gate right there. So like I said before, it's a super simple process. First, you're gonna want to set your 4x4s for your fenced-in area. I'm not gonna go over that in this video. There's a crap ton of videos on YouTube on how to set 4x4 posts in the ground to complete fencing or whatever else you may be building. So if you want to go watch one of those videos first to learn how to set your 4x4 posts, you can do that, and I'd recommend doing that. This video is just going to be showing you how to install your panels in between each of your 4x4 posts. So in between your 4x4s, you are going to have a 2x4. That is going to be your bottom layer of this fence. So you're going to want to take a tape measure and measure from the inside of one 4x4 all the way to the other end of your 4x4. Whatever that measurement is, you're going to cut a 2x4 to length, and you're going to run that 2x4 from one end of the post to the other end of the post. Then you're going to take 2 screws, and you're going to screw in to your 2x4 into your 4x4, securing this 2x4. Make sure you throw a level on this 2x4, and you are absolutely perfect. You don't want this base layer of where your fencing is going to be based off of to be off level, or you're going to have a ton of problems as you're building. So after you set that 2x4 in between your 4x4 posts, toss a level on there, make sure you're good to go, and then we can move to the next step. Next step is going to be taking 2x2s. And you are going to run. We'll start with your first 2x2 from one end of the post to the other end of the post on top of your 2x4. So something that's really important with this step is when you install your first 2x2, make sure you are installing it flush with the front of your 2x4. Because when we go to sandwich that panel in, and I'll show you what I mean by sandwich, is this entire panel is sandwiched with 2x2s. That's what's holding this panel in. It is sandwiched with 2x2s around the entire circumference of this panel. And I mean, it's not going anywhere. I mean, that's pretty sturdy. So back to what I was saying though, is when you install your first 2x2, make sure you are installing it to where if you were looking from the outside of your fence, it's going to be flush. Because once you go to sandwich this panel in, you may have a little gap. And you want that gap to be on the inside of your fence so people don't see a bunch of crazy gaps when they're looking at your fence because you sandwiched in and you didn't make this front 2x2 flush with your 2x4. So cut your 2x2, run it on top of your 2x4. I just threw a couple screws into the 2x2, down into the 2x4. And then you are going to cut a secondary 2x2. So we'll go ahead and do that now. All right, something you're gonna wanna do before we put up that fence and install our 2x2 is you're gonna wanna do drainage holes at the bottom of this fence. So when it rains and water gets stuck down in between these 2x2s on top of that 2x4, water has somewhere to go. So you'll just run a couple holes down your 2x4 so water can exit the bottom of the fence. Okay, now we're ready to cut our panel to fit size in between our posts here. So I took a measurement in between my post to my other post. It was 6'2" and 1/8 of an inch. 6 foot 2 inches and 1/8. You're gonna wanna leave about 1/8 of an inch gap, a 16th through an 1/8 of an inch gap in between your post to give you a little wiggle room to make sure you can sandwich this thing in there. So as you can see here, got my tape measure out. We're gonna go 6'2" and 1/8 of an inch. So I know I gotta cut along this line roughly 1/8 of an inch. How I'm cutting these is you can be fancy and get you a grinder or cutter or something. I'm just using a pair of old bolt cutters that I got from a hardware store for 20 bucks, and now I got a pair for life. It's super simple. It'll cut through this like birthday cake, and we're gonna go ahead and do that. And once I got this sucker cut, we'll move on to the next portion of the video. So I have this panel cut now. Runs up along one of my posts. Runs up along another one of my posts. And it's down on the 2x4. So now we have this 2x2 ready to go. Next step is gonna go into be sandwiching in the bottom portion of the fence here. I'll grab my drill and we'll get started on that. Okay, so we have our panel cut sitting between our posts. We have our first 2x2 set. Now we're gonna set our secondary bottom 2x2. Now, this is gonna be a little tricky. You gotta have a little finesse. There's probably a better way to do this, but I'm not a master carpenter. I'm just a fucking dude who lives in the woods and likes to build shit. So, we are going to go ahead, make sure that sucker is sitting real tight up against the bottom of your screen here. So we'll go ahead and take us a screw. Sandwich it in with your foot real tight. And you'll run your screw into the bottom of that 2x4. And we'll do this all the way down until we have this bottom set of the panel really stuck in there. All right, something I wanted to explain before we get on to this next step is, as you can see, I have my bottom plates staggered. One's sitting a little lower than the other, and obviously that's because I have a downhill slope where the back of my garden is gonna be. So when I had the idea to build this fence, I wanted everything to be, as you'd call, level with the earth. So I wanted my top 2x6 cap to be level all the way around my fence. So I bought they're 5 foot in height panels. So even though I have a height difference between my bottom plate here and my bottom plate here, it'll still be level because I can just cut the top of my fence panel to make it that way. So if you're dealing with a similar situation in your backyard or wherever your property is located that you're doing this, you can think about doing that as well. So on to the next step. We are going to be doing the same thing as we did at the bottom. Now we're going to be doing the sides. To ensure that our 2x2 is cut to the proper length, you are going to be basing this off of your previous 2x2, because your 2x6 is going to be sitting along the top of your 2x2, and you want these to be the exact same level there. So I cut my 2x2. It is going to be sitting on top of my bottom 2x2. It's going to run up flush, like I said, once again, with my post. And it is going to be sitting to where you have a level line here. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to screw this into the post. We're going to throw some screws in down this way. Oh, see ya. So throw some screws in down this way, and we're going to set that. We now have our 2x2 set, level with our 4x4 post. Now we are going to cut a secondary 2x2 to the same length that we cut this one, and we are going to mash it on the inside. And we're going to squeeze this fence together on the side of it. Thought I'd get me screwing in one on camera in case you never used one of these things. Take it, put it on the other side there. Squeeze that sucker in. Take you a couple of your screws. So really push that thing in. Got our top one. We'll go ahead and do our bottom. Go ahead and start the screw. Whatever you can, put as much pressure on that panel as you can. And screw it in. One more for good measure in the center. Push it in. Bam. Now you're sandwiched. So, we'll do the other side now. All right, so the other side. It's really not difficult, a little different than what we did first. Instead of measuring off what we previously built, we're gonna have to create a new set of level 2x2s. So take you a straight edge, I'm just using a 2x4. You are gonna set it on top of your 2x2. 1 second here, get my level out. So, set your level on top of your 2x4 and get it to where you are good and level. So I know, let me get this sucker perfect here. That looks pretty good to me. I know that this is where I want my top cap to sit. Therefore, this is where my 2x2 needs to end. So, let me put you down here for a second. I'm going to take me a little screw here, and I'm going to mark the bottom of this 2x4 on my post. Okay. So, I know now that this is where my next 2x2 needs to end from the bottom here. So I'll cut a 2x2 to sit on top of this 2x2 and run it to the top of my line. We have our 2x2 cut to where that line needs to be to make sure that we are level from side to side. I just threw 3 screws in, screw, screw, screw on the outside here flush, again, with my 4x4 post. So we're gonna go ahead and do the same thing that we've been doing, sandwiching. We're gonna put another one on the inside, the same length as this one here. Okay, now that we have our 2x2s sandwiched on the one side of the panel, we have our 2x2s sandwiching the bottom portion of the panel, and we have our 2x2s sandwiching the other portion of the panel. Now what we are going to do is cut the panel so it can fit the height. We can go ahead and put our plate on top. I'm gonna go ahead and try and video this. It's probably not gonna be the best because I don't know, I'm just shitty with the camera. So I'm gonna take a pair of bolt cutters and I'm gonna do my best to cut to where I can still squeeze in 2x2. So I'll probably end up cutting somewhere about right in here. So we'll go ahead and do that. I'm gonna just do this. Is that good? Yeah, it should be all right. Take your cutters. Find where you want to be. Right there looks good. Follow that line all the way down. All right. So now we have our panel cut across, and now we're going to install our 2x6 top cap from one end of the post to the other end of the post. So go ahead and get you a measurement from this end, the inside of your post, to the other end. Cut a 2x6, and we're going to lay it flat from post to post. Okay, we have our 2x6 cut. We are sitting from post to post here. What you want to do is just make a quick inspection and make sure that your fence can wiggle around up top just a tad bit, and you don't have any of these portions of the fence sticking up into your wood, causing anything to become unlevel or anything of that sort. So once you're good and you have some pretty free flow up top, and you don't have any portion of your fence up in your lumber or your top cap, you'll be good to secure the top cap, your 2x6, to your posts. So how I'm doing this is I'm just taking my screws. Make sure you have the same amount of slack on the right side as you do the left side. And once you think that you are good to go, I'll throw 2 screws into my 2x6 and into the post. As you can see, I've done here, just shoot them through your 6 into your post and secure each side to your post. I'm gonna go ahead and do that. Okay, and one of the final steps is going to be securing the panel to the top portion of your cap here. As you can see on one of the panels I've completed already, we are going to be cutting one to length from one end of your 2x2 to the other end of your 2x2. And when you're securing this 2x2, I'm running screws up in to my top portion, my top board here. So, oh, look at that guy. What's up, dude? All right. Make sure the screws that you're using aren't too long to where you're zooming screws up to secure this, your 2x2, and you're having screws come and hang out of your top cap here. So I'm gonna go ahead and take my measurement from this end to this end. I'm gonna cut one of my 2x2s to fit, and we're gonna secure that in. All right, now that we have our one portion of our top 2x2 secured, again, I just threw some screws into the 2x, into the 2x. I have 3 of them, 3 screws, 1, 2, and 3. Now we're going to sandwich in this top one on the inside of the fence to get this thing secure. Okay, we sandwiched in our last 2x. So we have the top portion of the panel secured, both sides and the bottom. And we have our top cap on. And people may think this isn't very sturdy because it's held by 2x, but I mean, I can really rip on this thing. It ain't going nowhere. So this is pretty much it here, folks. We have one more step too I want to go over real fast before we end the video, but so far this is where we're at. I mean, that's pretty much the gist of it as far as the entire panel goes. I've been doing the process that I just showed you in between each of my posts. So each of my posts, I have 2 more to go and a gate, and this will be finished up. I have the front stained. I'm going to stain the rest of the fence once it's good to go. But last step I wanted to go over real quick before I end the video is, you know, if a critter's pretty determined to get into this fence, I got a pretty big gap here between, you know, the ground and my bottom slate. So what I'm going to end up doing to make sure that nothing can dig under the fence is I'm going to take some hardware cloth. I'm going to dig a small trench around the interior portion of the fence here. And I'm going to just take some screws and washers, and I am going to run my hardware cloth like a foot into the ground. And then I'm going to washer it along the bottom slate of my 2x4 so nothing can dig under this fence and get to all my awesome vegetables and good food. So that's about it, folks. So yeah, that's it. Have a good one.